What's going on, guys? I'm not even going to try and monetize this video because there's no way it's going to go through. A lot of my videos get demonetized. I don't know if I ever talk about it, but a lot of ones that shouldn't do get demonetized. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised. You know, um, I wanted to talk to you guys about pedophilia. I wanted to get into that. I don't want to get into that. Don't let someone take that out of the context. But I wanted to give you guys like a brief little history. So, pedophilia has been around as long as humanity has been around, but there have been certain things, certain strides that have been made. Um, for example, after the Egyptian time period, you had the Jewish time period, right? Which was the Age of Aries, which was the Old Testament. Now, if I just share my screen real quick and I'll show you, I have this in my presentation real quick, but I wanted to share this with you. So, homosexuality in the Bible. Now, everyone knows about Leviticus 18:22. However, is it what is really said there? The Greek word arsenokotai shows up in two different versions of the Bible in Greek, but was not translated to mean homosexual until 1946. In the 1800s, the German Bible said, "Man shall not lie with young boys, as he does with a woman, for it is an abomination." Leviticus 18:22, same with Leviticus 20:13, young boys. 1 Corinthians, and the word arsenokotai, and it's important for me to mention that the Bible was written in Hebrew, sure, Hebrew and Aramaic, but everyone at the time knew that if you were an intellect, you wrote and read in Greek. See, they were Jews that actually lived amongst the Greek people. They were called Hellenistic Jews. And what they did was they actually had the Bible written this way. This is the same exact time period. There's no difference in the time period, guys. So when you're talking about these Hellenistic Jews, that's what they were called. They're Jews that wrote and read in Greek, in Greece, or just in general. Okay. 1 Corinthians becomes boy molesters will not inherit the kingdom of God. If you were to grab Martin Luther's original German translation from 1534, they use the word Nabenschonder. Naben is boy and Schonder is molester. The first time homosexual appears in German translation is in 1983. So you have all that going for you. You have basically all that going for you. So you basically had the Greek Bible, which used the word arsenokotai and mentioned homosexuality, not in homosexuality. They mentioned molestation, boy molesters. Um, then you fast forward to the um, Islam, and you fast forward to Muhammad, who married Aisha, who was a 6-year-old girl when he married her, but he did not have sexual relations to her until she was 9. Now, guys, you have to understand something. When the time frame was back then, there wasn't, I strive not to say modern medicine or anything, but they weren't, because they were using plant medicines and they were using other sort of things that was keeping them alive too. And people did live long lives, but as a general rule, back in those days, people didn't live very long lives, maybe 30s or 40s at most before something killed them. Uh, so you have to understand is that the mating ritual and the process in life happened a lot earlier, whereas now the average life for a man is 72 years, I believe, which is the same thing as 1 degree in the zodiac's precession of the equinox, interestingly enough. And I think women live 77 years. So they live 5 years longer, but men dying first, I think it's just a self defense mechanism. And I'm just kidding. Anyway, so you have Ayesha, so they talk about that. So they show you all this sort of molestation. Now, when you guys realize, and you read Romeo and Juliet, for example, okay, the story of Romeo and Juliet is one of the greatest love stories that was ever written. And whether it was written by Shakespeare or Sir Francis Bacon, I'm not even going to get into that kind of argument right now because it's not necessary. But what is necessary to mention is that Romeo was 19 and Juliet was 13. And this was a normal thing back in the day. The age of consent seems to have changed, but we can all agree that children, as in the original Greek Bibles and in the German Bibles from years back, um, they use the word boy molesters. Now, why do I bring all this up? Why do I talk about pedophilia? Well, because it's extraordinarily useful nowadays. It's extraordinarily useful. See, pedophilia is viewed as a bad from a lot of people. In fact, most of the people in the world can agree that this is the one thing that you shouldn't do. Wars and famines and racism and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's bad, but pedophilia is really that's kind of the bottom layer. You know, and what they do when you ascertain a certain level of exposure, the whole thing with fame and wealth and riches, what they have to do is they have to get you on tape doing something evil. Now, it's been said that Hunter S. Thompson at the Bohemian Grove filmed the child rape himself, filmed it. That's neither here nor there. But what you have to realize is that it's extraordinarily useful. See, for the elites, what they do is they get this on tape. They get this child abuse on tape, and then it can be used against them. See, you can have all the money in the world, you can reach the highest level of society. This is why the people at the top are always caught with child porn or things of that nature. Why? Because that's what they do. They have no fear of consequences, and these people get it on tape, and then you can do whatever you want. But if you step out of line, they can take you down with it. So it is extraordinarily useful. Now, there are people out there who fight against this tooth and nail. And what you'll find is when someone becomes too popular and they don't play ball, what they'll do is they'll use accusations of child molestation against them. So whereas they use it for their benefit, they also use it for the disadvantage. They use it against them. They'll level claims against people. And the truth of the matter is that most of society is stupid because they just read a catchy headline and then that's all they need to think about it. They don't need to dive into it deeper. So when you accuse someone, for example, of child molestation, the accusation alone sticks with them for the rest of their life. Same thing with rape. Child molestation. So what they do is they use this against it. But in the earlier days, okay, prior to the Quran and prior to the Hadith and prior to when you're talking about the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament, it was originally written for boy molesters, child molesters, and then it was changed because those who are in power needed to avoid that. So this is just a little bit of food for thought, is that if you ever become too powerful and you're not playing game with the elites and you're not playing ball, you're not flashing your little hand symbols, or you're not doing what you're told, then they will utilize these child molestation accusations against you. So you have two choices. Either you will be filmed doing something like this, and then you could do what you want, but they will always have it over you, or they will level the accusation against you, because the accusation goes a long way. All you need is one article, just one article saying that. Everybody has an opinion. So that's why child molestation is always out there. That's why all the elites, that's why you're constantly hearing about pedophilia, because to get to that high level in society, in the church, or whatever, you have to be a degenerate in that sense. So I just wanted to let you know is that if I'm ever accused of pedophilia, it's not true. Now there's also the last thing I wanted to share was, the Epstein Island, the Kevin Spacey thing. So Kevin Spacey, we all know that he had a bunch of people accuse him of rape or this, that, and the other thing, and they all died. He even had a picture that he put online that says "kill them with kindness," and then 2 days later the guy died. Kevin Spacey supposedly was one of these people who went to Epstein Island and who even freaked out the pedophiles at the island, because what Kevin Spacey liked to do is he liked the screamers. He liked the ones that threw a fit and screamed and cried while he was doing whatever he was doing. That was what he really got him off. And that's, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it's a very interesting accusation. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm sorry for such a dark video. I was going to do the book of Job today, but I can't because it's so long and it's so deep And the book of Job, by the way, is the first book of the Bible. Now you're going to say Genesis was. That's not what I meant. The book of Job is the first book ever written in the Bible. So it's interesting that the first book ever written, even though it's not at the beginning of the Bible, would have the most astrotheology in it. So there should be some good stuff.